Welcome to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and today we are going to make a very delicious zucchini breakfast cookie.
Grab a plate, 'cause it's the all-free whole food plant-based cooking show.
Welcome back to the show, guys. I have another great recipe for you today. A lot of you out there are in the midst of zucchini season, so you've asked me to create some recipes to use up all of that zucchini from your garden. And I have it too, although I don't know, I've got these, what are they, zucchini squash borers or something, so they got a lot of my zucchini this year. But I'm replanting and starting over, so I still have time. Okay, so we're just gonna get started. I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees, and I've already shredded my zucchini to about 2 cups worth here. But we're going to start with that. I'm going to show you. You can't use it just like that because it will make the cookies a little bit too wet. So what we're going to do, this is just a kitchen tea towel, and I'm just going to wring out, look at all that juice. That's crazy. That's a lot of liquid. And we don't need that liquid. I could probably just pour it into my plants or something, or I guess I could drink it. Okay, that is about enough. You just want to basically get some of that moisture out of there. You don't have to have it super bone dry. And we're going to take about a cup of it. I'm going to leave about a half cup left. I'm going to take about a cup, put it in my bowl. So you might be wondering what we're making. So we're going to make some zucchini breakfast cookies. May sound a little bit unusual, but it's kind of like having the zucchini and oatmeal and fruits and nuts and berries and all of that stuff just all in one that you can have with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in the morning. So we're going to start with our oats. This is 1 cup of just regular organic rolled oats. And we're going to lightly grind this into a flour, because you don't need to buy your oat flour. If you've got oats, you can make oat flour. I'm just going to blend it just lightly until it's a flour, but it needs to be kind of a coarse grind flour. Okay, that should be just enough. It should still feel kind of gritty, and you can see some of the oat chunks still. That's quite all right, but we just need it to be a little bit like a flour texture, so you have something to kind of glue all of these things together. Okay, so we're going to leave this here for just a second. So what I have here and what we're going to put in here, we're going to just do the dry ingredients first, like I said. And I have some baking soda, baking powder, ginger, and cinnamon. So it's a ½ teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 cup or 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, ½ teaspoon of cinnamon, ½ teaspoon of ginger. I throw that in there. And if you want a printable recipe with all of the exact ingredients, that link will be in detail in the links below. I have 1/4 cup of goji berries. So those are like a superpower. These are a superfood, so you want to get that in there. 1/4 cup of raisins. And really, you can use whatever dried fruit you like. If you like apricots, chop them up real small, stick them in there. I happen to love dried cherries. I'm gonna put that in there. Another 1/4 cup. And I actually make my dried cherries. I just get the frozen bags of cherries from the grocery store and I dehydrate them, because if you buy the other cherries from the grocery store, they usually have sugar on them or they have fruit juice or something like that. They're really sticky sweet, but if you don't want that extra sugar in there, just dehydrate them yourself. We got 3 tablespoons of flax meal, ½ cup of chopped walnuts, but you could use sunflower seeds or pepitas or pecans, whatever nut or seed you prefer. And then ½ cup of rolled oats and ½ cup of diced apple. And the same there, if you don't, this really lends itself to your own taste buds. So what would make it interesting too, you know, even spices. You could add some clove to this if you like cloves, or you could use like a pumpkin spice, you know, pumpkin pie spice mix, something like that. So we're just lightly mixing them together, and the flour kind of coats the berries and the zucchini, and it kind of helps it from clumping together. So you don't get big, you know, a big clump of dried fruit. This will keep it all from creating sticky globs. Okay, so now we're gonna mix the wet ingredients. So I'm just gonna use my same blender. Don't have to rinse it because it's the same ingredients anyway, right? So we're gonna take the rest of that zucchini, pop that into our blender. And you don't need a big old fancy blender to do this. You could use a NutriBullet or a Magic Bullet, something like that. It will work just fine. Have a half a cup of pitted dates. That's your natural sweetener. We're gonna do a teaspoon of vanilla. And 1 cup of plant milk, unsweetened plant milk of your choice. This happens to be soy milk. I like to get the West soy because it's just soybeans and water. There's no fillers, no thickeners, nothing like that. So as few ingredients as possible. Okay, so now we're just gonna blend this until those dates are fully pulverized. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to share with you some background on our show. The Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show is crowd-funded, which means these free weekly recipe videos, along with our entire catalog of recipes on our website, plantbasedcookingshow.com, and our new Plant-Based Cooking Made Easy cookbook, are all made possible in part by the generous patronage of our supporting members. By becoming a supporting member, you gain access to great member perks like monthly product giveaways, free downloads of our ebooks, and access to our in-depth courses, including our 28 Days Plant-Based Made Easy course, where we offer a step-by-step guide to making the switch to a fully plant-based diet. We create this show for the hundreds of thousands of viewers just like you who tune in each month from all over the world to make it easy for everyone to live a plant-based lifestyle. So if you love our content, please join us on our mission and become a supporting member today by following the link in the description. Okay, let's get back to the show. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now you're just gonna blend this in with your dry ingredients. Make sure you get all that out of there. Okay, just gonna mix it up. And you'll wanna have a cookie sheet with some parchment paper lined on it, because that allows you to cook these without having any oil on them, and it doesn't stick to the cookie sheet. Because there's no fats or oil. I mean, there's nuts in here, but there's no extra added oil or butter or something like that that would keep these from sticking to your baking tray. Okay, now this is what it looks like. It does look like it's a little bit wet, right? For a cookie mixture, that is quite all right. Because as those sit for just a little bit, the oats and the flax meal, they're gonna soak up that liquid, and then it's gonna be baked anyway. So it'll be just fine. You'll have a nice moist cookie. Okay, so I got my baking tray here. And this makes a good dozen of, you know, healthy size cookies, about that size. So whatever way you feel like getting those onto the tray. And I just kind of roughly get them into a mound and press them down just a little bit, or spread it out just a little bit. Because, you know, because they don't have fat in them, you know, like a chocolate chip cookie or something like that, you know how it oozes out like that, it flattens because the fat melts. These don't work that way. If you don't squish them down a little bit, they'll just stay pretty tall up in a mound. And you can eat it that way too. But this way, I think it gets a little more evenly baked if they're a little bit flatter, because it is a very moist cookie. Okay, I'm gonna finish spreading these out and then we'll stick them in the oven. Ooh, they are done. So they were in the oven for 25 minutes, but come in and take a look. Oh, the smell, I can smell that cinnamon and some of the dried fruit. Oh, they smell so good. So I'm gonna grab a cup of milk and I'll meet you at the table for a taste. Okay, it's time to eat. And if you want some more recipes on ways to get rid of that zucchini that you're growing, we'll leave some links in the details below of some other recipes that I use these zucchini for. But right now, let's get down to the eating. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's get this one right there. Nice big one. Got my soy milk here. I am ready. You get some of the crunch from the nuts and some of the tart from the cherry and the apples. And it's really like kind of squishy. It's not a crunchy cookie, it's kind of a squishy cookie. Man, I'd eat this for breakfast over oatmeal any day. So be sure to give this a like, guys, and I'll see you next week for another great recipe.